Hello everybody, my name is Joey. Today I'm working on another project with Sam's Bead Box for the month of April, and it was called Sassy 60s, and it is so colorful and so joyful. I am having a blast working with these beads. I am highly impressed. I'm brand new to Sam's Bead Box, and I've signed up to do the box for a few months so I can see how everybody likes the videos with it, in this group. So far I've gotten some good feedback. In my first video, I did this stunning pair of very simple earrings. I also did a really gorgeous convertible necklace, and today I'm going to be doing a bracelet. It's going to be a wired bangle, and I'm going to get the body of the bangle done and then maybe do some further embellishments. So I have a few ideas. I did not do a prototype or a sketch of this, so you guys are going to be a little bit of a design on the fly with me. So also with this type of a project, getting under the camera, especially starting out, is really difficult, but I do want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I have about 30 inches of 20 gauge wire here. This is my Soft Flex craft wire with an anti-tarnish coating, and I have come here to put a loop, and I'm going to wrap it with about 10 inches of wire on one side and about 20, I didn't really measure, about 24 inches on this side. So this side of the wire is going to be the wire that gets wrapped. So I need a lot of length because I'm going to be wrapping each bead as I place it on my core wire. I'll call this the core wire. So I got a little bit of a start here, and I really felt like maybe you wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to do the same thing on this tiny little piece of scrap wire to show you exactly what to do, because when you do this and you're not under a camera, it's fun and easy. But I find when I'm wrapping, like, the wire hits the camera lens and all of that. So pretend this is about 30 inches of wire, and I'm going to come to a space where there's 8, 9, 10 inches. The reason for the extra wire is because a lot of times when I've finished a design like this, I make the loop part of the bangle bracelet all in one. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I kind of make my jewelry with my heart, and I like the option. So, pretend you have about 9, 10 inches here and about 24, 25 inches here, and you're going to put a 90-degree bend just like we would for a wrapped loop. And then you're going to come with your round nose pliers and put your pliers in there, but you don't want to do it so that you are wrapping your 9 or 10 inch wire. You want to do it so that the wire you are wrapping is the longer wire, if that makes sense. And so you're going to just do a normal wire wrapped loop, but I want to be wrapping with my 20 inches of wire. So if you see, I just reshifted my wire so that I am wrapping my loop with the long wire. So you just get started. And again, you're pretending that this is, 20 or so inches of wire, and this is 9 or 10. And then with this design, the way you start, this loop gives you a place to put a jump ring and a lobster clasp or a handmade hook or whatever you want to do to clasp the bracelet. And then the way you start this is, and again, this is just, really not to scale or anything, but just to show you what's going to happen. Your core wire is the part that goes around your wrist. So you feed your bead on, and then with your long wrapping wire, you're going to start your design. And of course, this is really hard to hang on to, but that's the gist of it. And so that's why you need the 20 inches out here to go, to go the whole length of your bracelet, I meant to say. So that's my little mini tutorial, and I'm going to do my best to show you guys under the camera how I do this. So I'm going to get back to the point where I was. And let me switch to this. So again, it's really hard to do this under the camera. You can't see, but all this wire is hanging off the edge of my table. And so I want to turn myself so that I am wrapping with that super long wire. just this is the part of the bracelet, this about 10 inches I left myself, that will go on my wrist. And so I am going to pull out of the camera just to get those first 3 wraps in here. So just give me a second to wrap. Sometimes I stand up when I'm starting a bracelet like this, but you really can't do that under the camera lens. Okay, and I like to tidy up my wire as I go along. And you know, I'm going to eat up a lot of this length as I get my beads on, but for right now there is an awful lot of wire hanging over the edge of my table. And then I'm going to start my design with one of these aventurine. These are both beautiful beads from the box. This is an aventurine, orange aventurine, and then these little pillow beads are Czech glass pink opal beads, and I just love them both. So I'm going to start with one of the orange aventurine on my shorter piece of wire, and then with my longer piece of wire I'm going to do my first wrap. And so when I'm designing a bracelet like this, I'll decide as I wrap if I'm going to just do 1 or 2, or if I'm going to do 1 and put another bead on. But whatever you do in your design, and I haven't really decided on this one yet, I'm going to decide as I go. Like I said, this is a little bit of a design on the fly, but whatever you do, your pattern that you create, you just want to do it through the whole length of the bracelet. So that's all I'm doing, is letting my wire hug the side of that bead, and I'm going to go behind and back to the front again. So I'm going to have to step out of the camera lens. Maybe I don't. Let's see if I can do it. The wire that's hanging off the table is kind of hitting everything that you can't see, but that's kind of the gist of it. And like I said, this is not hard at all if you're not under a camera lens. So I do want to, before I proceed, I do want to make sure that this is tight. And again, if I wasn't holding this here so that you could see, this would be so much easier. And then I'm going to come next on my shorter wire with one of the pink pillow beads and push that down. And here's where I just have to decide what I'm going to do for the length of my bracelet. I think I'm going to go down one side of the pillow bead and do the same thing, and it's going to be the opposite side. So I really like the geometry of this, having a round faceted bead and then a square flat bead, because as my wire goes side to side, it's going to make those shapes. You know, I really love the geometry. So I am going to pull out of the camera. I want to straighten everything, and I want to make sure that before I proceed, everything is nice, because you don't want to have to unwrap this bracelet. It's like a continuous design. So I'm just going to pull out of the camera and do that same thing, wrap around and come back to the front of my wire. I'm going to continue like that. I like the way that's looking. My idea for embellishing this was to add in some of these gorgeous seed beads that were in the box, to lay them across the top of the pillow bead, but they did not fit on 20 gauge wire. Some 11/0 seed beads will and some won't, but they would not. And so I think that I'm going to do my length of my bracelet just like this, alternating an aventurine bead and a pink opal bead, and wrapping alternate sides. And then I'm going to give it a go to come back with a finer gauge wire and go right on top of these wraps. That's my plan. I'm going to give it a try. The nice thing about a design like that, and again, this is kind of on the fly, but the nice thing about a design like that is if you're adding wire on top of what you've already done, if you don't care for it, you can snip it away and come back to your base design that you've already done. So I'm going to push these beads up as I go and just make sure everything is really nice and neat. Next, aventurine bead, and just continue wrapping like that. I'll come back when I have used up some of the length of this wire that's hanging over the edge of my table and kind of let you see the progress. Okay, here's where I am. This is so beautiful. Pink and orange is one of my favorite color combinations, and I'm actually really liking the way my square beads are moving in the bracelet. Just like enhances the geometry of it, I guess, for me. But I do think I am going to try my overlay of embellishment. Just, you know, it's an idea that I had and I kind of want to follow through with it, but I am really liking this. So a couple of tricks with these square beads. All the framing with the wire around the square beads is a little challenging, and I started out trying to make each one perfect and exactly the same, but I decided that it's a little bit more freeform and organic, and you know, even a little bit more like contemporary art, to just let them be what they are. So when I get to the square bead, I was using the bead to kind of make my sharp turn, but what I found is it ends up being rounded. So I'm just going to take my pliers and just get like a little bit of a square shape in there and just pull it down to my bead, and then kind of do the same thing. Just snuggle it right there. It's really helpful to use your thumb. On all my wraps, I'm coming on top of my core wire with my wrapping wire, if that makes sense. So that way I'm getting a little bit of a square in there, and just pull it tight and go behind and back around to the front again, like that. And then the other little trick, little tip is, you know, I have some space in there that's unwanted. So if you just put your nylon jaw pliers on your core wire, and then take another pair of pliers and kind of pull and push, you just can zhuzh everything up and kind of keep going with your wrapping. And then, you know, I've been playing with each one before I move on, just whatever I need to do to be happy with the shape of the wire before I add on the next bead. So it's really a cool design. I actually think it's really contemporary and pretty, and I like doing it this way because it's relaxing and I'm not stressing over, you know, the wire being perfect, I think is what I'm trying to say. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist with my jewelry, so I'm giving myself permission to do a free form wire wrap. I'm just going to add on another bead and continue like that. I'm trying to warm and straighten and curve the wire each time before I go around the next bead. And then again, I'm laying on top. I'm laying my wrapping wire always on top of my core wire, and then going behind and coming back around to the front. Then my wire is on this side. It's still really long. It's hitting everything off the table. But then I'm ready to add on my next pillow bead and keep going. Okay, I've finished my length, and I just wrapped my wire around, and I'm just going to tidy up where I trimmed. It'll be a little bit easier when I get my final loop in, because I really want to make it kind of seamless. So I'm going to try to wrap my loop on this end so that the wraps just meet right up with the wires that have been dancing around the beads. And so I did bend this a little bit just to have a look at it on my wrist, but I do want to do this wire wrapped loop in the same direction as the other one. So I'm going to come right here and come right where I finished wrapping. In fact, push that down a little bit, give that a 90-degree bend, and I'm just going to do a normal wire wrapped loop here. Now I'm going to pause here and just say that I did cut off the extra of my wrapping wire that I had, because I decided to do this more simplified in case some of you are not adept at wire working or you're insecure about your wire working. Because with the extra wire, you can make your own hook clasp that is right on, you know, part of these bangle bracelets. But I decided to do an extender chain and just add in a clasp onto this one, so it's more simple, because all you have to do is a wire wrapped loop at the end of each bracelet, you know, at each end of the bracelet. So I'm just going to get my normal wire wrapped loop in here and just wrap right down to my finished embellishment wire. So this is the core. What I'm wrapping with now is what's left over of that core wire that we were putting all the beads around. Okay, so I got it pretty well connected to my other wire. I'm going to trim and just do my best to tuck in that cut end so that the person looking at this bracelet will not see where this wrapping starts and finishes. Okay, and from here I'm just going to give this a bend. I like oval bracelet. When I do a more, you know, rigid bracelet, I like them to be oval. I'm not going to form it all the way though, because I do want to embellish. Although this is really lovely. I didn't think I would like the squares moving like that, but I really do. Like I said, I think it adds to the geometry. But look at that. It's so pretty. It's such a gorgeous bracelet. So I'm going to come back with, I have my soft flex wire. I use 20 gauge for this, but I've gone down to 24 gauge for my embellishments. And I'm going to save that. I have an idea for that. I'm going to bring in this beautiful 60s seed bead mix that was in the box. And I'm going to start on one end of my bracelet. And let's see. I'm going to skip over. Do I want to skip over that? Yeah, I think I'm going to skip over the aventurine bead. Like I said, this is a little design on the fly because I really had just kind of thought about this design in my head, but I didn't do a prototype. So some of the little details of the architecture of it, I'm going to be working out with you watching. So I'm just getting a couple of wraps in here nice and tight. It's the same. You start out with so much wire, and I know it frustrates some of you because I don't always give measurements on my wire because I don't measure very much. I just like pull out a length. I don't waste anything. If I don't use it, it goes back in my scrap bag, but I prefer to have extra and not short myself and have to add in wire because I think it looks better when it's all continuous. So I've just gotten this wire attached on top, this finer gauge wire, and I'm doing it so that I'm coming down the same side as the wires that I wrapped. I'm going to follow that same wire path. And again, this is going to be a little bit to manage under the camera because my long length of wire that's going to be wrapped is going to get loaded with seed beads, and I'm just going to pick up this beautiful mix just at random. I think it's so pretty just the way, however they land. And I'm not even sure how many. I'm going to look at how these lay on my square beads. So let me just get some on here. Okay, I'm just going to let those come down so I can decide what I'm going to do with this seed bead and wire embellishment, and this will give me an idea how many. So I think what I want to do is get my little pillow beads in position and do this over the top and pull it like to the middle. Gonna pull a few beads off. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It looks like it only takes about 8 of these seed beads to cover to go on top of the pillow bead. So I think I'm going to do that and kind of let them lay on the pillow bead and do that same wrap. Go behind and come back to the front. Let's see how I feel about that. That is so pretty. Okay, I really love it. Now I have to decide if I want to skip over my aventurine with the seed beads and just go to the next pillow bead, and that was my intention. So I think I'm going to go underneath and same thing, wrap behind and come back around to the front. So this is laying on the top of my square pillow bead, and now I know that I need to just thread on 8 seed beads to embellish the pillow. Okay, and just let those drop down. And I'm just going to get it in position right on top of that pillow bead. And same thing, wrap behind and come back around to the front. Oh yeah, I am definitely going to like that. That is so pretty. Okay, I'm going to continue doing that through my whole length, and I'll come back when I'm done and show you how we're going to put a clasp. On my last wrap, just laying those seed beads there, and I'm just going to go around to the front and underneath my aventurine and back around to the top, and I think I'm going to go back around to the back. This is what the back side of the bracelet looks like, and I just want to stabilize this further. So I think what I'm going to do is wrap back on the back side with my fine gauge wire. No seed beads this time. So just like you can even take, when you're doing something like this, if you need to snuggle wires together, just use your nylon jaw pliers. But I like the wire embellishment anyway. So I'm going to come here on the back side, just come around right on top of those wraps and down the side, and just like continue my front to back wrap and then come down the side. Just dance all the way to the other end, just like that, and then pull it, kind of pull it to the back. So I'm going to stabilize those opal beads a little bit more, front to back like that. So it's just a little extra wire on the bangle. Oh, I love it. It's so pretty. And I think it also, the extra wire also adds to the organic nature, because, you know, each time that I go down the bracelet, did I go around this one? Yeah, I did. Talking, and I can't remember if I did my front to back wrap, but each time I go around the bracelet with a wrap of wire, that wrap is a little different than the previous one, and it just adds to the look. So I'm going to do this through the whole length again. Okay, and I'm going to trim off right here and tuck that in between those 2 beads. Get my cutter in there. And that little scrap of wire will go back in my bag. I just realized that I have the wash going, and I'm so used to the noises in my house that I don't hear it. I really hope it's not too loud and distracting in the background of the video. I never know what my microphone is picking up. Okay, from here I'm going to bring in this little piece of chain and some jump rings. These are jump rings out of that same 20 gauge wire. Do one for each end. So we'll get my shape. I'll get my shape first. I have an oval bracelet mandrel that my friend Rachel gifted to me when I started my channel, and I should go get it, but this is pretty easy to hand sculpt it, and oh my gosh, it's so pretty. I really love it. Okay, I'm going to just push this together as much as I can because it's bouncing back. So just like get my shape. Okay, and then I am simply going to add the lobster claw clasp to one side. Have this really pretty gold plated lobster claw clasp for this side. I don't even think that I mentioned to you guys, I have a bonus project for this video when I'm done with this. It's a really sweet, super easy project, and it was something I wanted to make for myself. Okay, and then I'm going to come to this side and put this little, it's from Curated Beads. It's a solid brass embossed oval link chain that's E-coated for anti-tarnish, and it's in the antique gold, which is the findings that Sam and Rachel chose for this month's box. And I do like mixing my golds. I don't mind having you know, the antique gold with the shiny gold, and I just thought it looked so pretty and textural, so I had a few links of it left over from another project, and it makes the perfect little extender chain. So this lobster claw clasp can clasp anywhere on the bracelet, and you have a little chain embellishment. But of course, if you have been here and listened to another single video of mine, you know that I cannot stand an empty link. Like on the back of a bracelet, that it's not wrong, and a lot of people prefer that look, but for me that just cries out for a bead, which is why I had this out here. And so I was thinking that I was going to do one of the pink melon beads for the bottom of my chain, but the seed beads have yellow, they have the turquoise in there. Turquoise is pretty. I do think I want the pink. That was my intention. I think I'm going to stick with my pink one. So I just have a ball head pin here, and I already have a dish here with the things that are going to go in my next bracelet project. So I might just take a little embellishment from that. But I have a ball head pin, and I'm just going to get some spacer beads and just kind of create a really pretty little drop for the bottom of this bracelet. I cut open the nice long strand of 6mm hematite plated little Heishi discs. I love those. It's got a really nice contemporary line, and what I think I'm going to do is just keep the pink and orange and gold going in my drop. That is so pretty. And I'm just going to do a simple loop here and attach it to the back of my the bottom of my extender chain. Pretty small, simple loop. Just add that right there. And when I stop filming, I always take my Permalac anti-tarnish coating. The only thing actually that needs it on this is the lobster claw and my ball head pin, and I will even do the little spacer, anything that's just plated. My chain is E-coated, so it will not tarnish. And then the other thing that I have to do that I know drives some people crazy is to fuss a little bit with all my wraps. I'll go, you know, bead by bead and just zhuzh anything, fix anything as far as my shape goes. I just love this bracelet. I love that it's a little bit organic. I love the artisan quality and that it does not look machine made. That is just, it's just stunning. I really, really love it. So as promised, I have a little bonus project. I am taking a couple pieces of my turquoise color Soft Flex 49 strand bead stringing wire, and in the box we had these beautiful Amazonite faceted beads, and I just love them. So I wanted to do a classic hoop earring, but maybe not classic. I have these Stardust ball post earrings with a loop on the front. And then I ordered from Amazon these earring backs that are made for when your ears are drooping or your earrings are hanging, if you have a problem with your piercing. So this is meant to hold your earring up, but it makes a fabulous loop for attaching things. So my hoop is in a straight line and it's dangling, but when you come around and this is in your ear, you actually create a gemstone hoop earring super simply. And I also had these from in my stash. This I ordered from Amazon as well. It's another one of those droopy ears earring backs that it's silicone, but it has a loop. And these are just little stick post earrings. I just thought that I would save these for micro faceted, like a smaller gemstone. They're not bad in scale, but I liked the Stardust better. So this is going to be another pair. So this takes a little piece of the soft flex wire. This is all that was left on my spool. I have to get some more of that color. And I'm going to, usually I do things with small jump rings, but in this case, I'm going to put this right onto the loop here. So I'm going to feed on one of the Soft Flex Company's #2 crimp tubes that are gold filled. They are the best ones. And I have to say too that I'm using the magical crimping plier here. And for this project, it is absolute perfection. I'm just making a loop here and I'll show you. So that the magical crimping plier crimps a little round bead front and back, and it's just absolutely impressive. It's, you don't see it. It looks like another one of the beads in my hoop stringing pattern. So I really like it. But I have to say, if you don't have that tool, or if you're having trouble with it, I really think that you could do a crimp bead here and just do a flat crimp. It's just, to me, it's not as pretty, but this is a spot where that would work. So I'm going to make this a really small loop. I made it a little bit bigger on the back side. I still want this to swing freely, but I want the loop to be really small. So I've just made a loop with that, and I'm going to use my magical crimping plier to turn this into a little bead. So pinch the 4 corners and go in the opposite direction. Make sure, this is like riding a bicycle. Once you feel how it feels when it's right in the center of the divot, you'll get this right every time. There, I just felt it go in the center in the opposite direction. Close, and now just maintain its position in the tool and go around a few times. I have all this earring hanging off of it, so it's not, it's a little bit in the way, but I can get in there. Just turn it and go a few times. See, it makes this really beautiful little bead, and it just like molds it to the divot in the plier. So I love that. And then I know that this does not go back down through my Amazonite or my seed beads, so I'm going to come in here as close as I can and trim that little end of wire, bead stringing wire. Okay, and so that's the start. And then what I did was 15 of these Amazonite beads separated by a gold seed bead, and I'm using Toho galvanized 11-0 seed beads. It's just something I had in my stash from the craft store. They're 11-0 or 2mm galvanized gold seed beads. I use galvanized or perma-finish seed beads when I'm using metallics. Well, any color really, but especially metallics wherever possible. They cost a little more, but for the look of fine jewelry and things wearing well and lasting a long time, to me it's worth it. It's worth an extra $1 or $2. So I'm just going to get 15 seed beads, or 15 Amazonite beads on this, separated by a gold seed bead. Okay, I have 15 on, and I will say one thing about stringing. You never want to have anything rigid when you're stringing and crimping, But on these earrings, especially since I am not using a jump ring, let me open this one and show you. When it's hanging, you know, straight out and it's not in its hoop earring form, can you see that little bit of space there? That is necessary so that it won't be rigid, because when you loop it, that space gets eaten up in the loop. When you make it into a hoop earring, it gets eaten up and you don't see it. So I am going to be mindful. Whoops, and I just caught something. You see what I did? 2 seed beads there. I'm glad that I caught that. I had 15, I checked and I did have 15 of my Amazonite, but it is easy to do when you're stringing. Let me fix that. Okay, and now my crimp tube. And once again, I am going to attach this right to the loop on my earring back without a jump ring, but you could do a jump ring if you wanted to. And I did keep them on here just so that I could keep my orientation correct. Once I got everything situated, then I pulled the back off the post earring, but just to make sure that I had my loop going, my hoop earring going the way that I want. And I did my back loop just a little bit larger than the front loop on my first earring. So before I crimp, I just like have a look and make sure that I have the space I want, and you know, let me just check it with my other earring. Beautiful. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing. Just take my magical crimping plier and come right here and make that into a little bead that just blends right in with my stringing. So beautiful. I love this idea to make classic gemstone, in this case Amazonite and gold hoop earrings. They're so pretty. I did already try them on. I tried on my sample and I just love it. And I am ready with my other earrings. In the next box that I get really small faceted gemstones, I'm going to do another pair with this little set here. If I can find these, I've had these for a long time. I will link them in the description box. And I just ordered these earring backs that are for drooping ears, but they work perfectly for this front to back earring design. So I can link those in the description box. I have a bracelet link left of my soft flex wire, which I will definitely save. And I will also put links to Sam's Bead Box in the description box of this video, because they kindly offered a discount to my viewers. So if you want to subscribe to the box, you can get $5 off your first box with code Joey, and I'll type the link and the code in the description box. And when I edit, if there's anything else that I've used that I know where I got it, I will link that for you as well. I know so many of you are still collecting tools and things for your own work, so I make a pretty big description box underneath all my videos. I thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. I am going to be back with, as I said, I showed you the start. I have a beautiful contemporary button and some beads and some things I've added in from my stash for a really beautiful bracelet that will go into spring, go in spring and summer. So I hope everybody's having a great spring so far, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, friends.